Well, we're back at David's place with the 1992 Chevrolet 3500 project truck, and David has been a busy bee, and he's going to take us through all the stuff he's done to the truck up to this point and talk about what the experience has been like. Now, first thing, David, the bed looks really nice.
Yeah, so I did clean the bed. I sanded it all down and put a little bed liner on it. It was your spray can bed liner. I didn't even know it had this, Tommy. It has the flip-up gooseneck ball.
Oh, nice. Look at that.
And it had a bunch of tires and the door and all in the back of it when I got it, so I didn't even know that it had that.
So what was it like spraying the bed liner in? How was that process?
Well, I first of all sanded it all down and wire brushed it so I had a good grip, and then I just used the rattle can, and I think it took 4 cans to do the whole bed.
So what do you think, 10 bucks a can, something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
It looks good. I mean, it's not quite as textured as
Right.
like you would get from a Line-X,
Yeah.
but I think for protecting the bed it does a good job. And what are you going to do with the tailgate?
I think I'm going to paint the tailgate with the paint color.
Nice. So then you have a paint match tailgate. So obviously getting a lot of the stuff out of the bed was a good first start, and now you've learned it has a fifth wheel.
And you wouldn't believe how much dirt was on this truck.
Really?
I mean, being a farm truck, I knew it was going to be dirty, but I got underneath it. I'm not kidding you. I bet 30 pounds of dirt I scraped off all the frame rails, and on the transmission and on every part and piece underneath it, I had a pile of dirt that was, I bet it was 30 pounds. And on the inside, when I started cleaning the inside, the dirt was just caked on everything. I'm not sure the last time this truck was washed.
Wow. So along the side here, not a lot of dents to deal with. It looks really good when it's clean.
Yeah, the truck is really pretty clean beside the door that was all bent up. There's a few, you can't see them, but there's a couple dents. I've already started on the bodywork, Tommy.
So what's the ultimate plan with the paint on this truck?
I'm gonna repaint it like we did Gunsmoke.
Okay, that'll be a fun video.
Yeah. So I didn't realize it had a few small little hail dents. So I filled those in with Bondo and sanded this off. I was just trying to get started on bodywork and felt like starting on the hood.
Now the cool thing is, if you're David and a perfectionist and you're not in a rush to get a truck done, unlike the 89 Ford, look how nice the hood can come out.
I'm hoping that I can do a little better job on this one than I did on Gunsmoke.
So I noticed in the front here, we do have some chips on the grill.
Yeah, the chrome's coming off. Obviously, it's not true chrome. I don't think you call that real chrome.
I don't think it is.
No. I did order a new plastic grill, chrome plastic grill and headlights. So this should look better when I get going.
Now the thing I think is so funny about this is we have a video over on TFL Classics where David takes us through his 92 Chevy, the brown one,
Yeah.
that he bought brand new, and he said he specifically didn't want this grill
For this reason.
And
Yeah.
here you go, now you know exactly why the chrome grills were not in David's favor.
I just remember seeing all these grills where the chrome was coming off over time, and I thought, I don't want that. So that's why I put that plastic one on.
So let's talk about the engine, because I know in the first video you said it had some misfire issue. What did you learn?
Well, it was low on the coolant.
Okay.
When I got it home, I looked in the radiator. So that was a little bit of concern because it could either be, leaky water pump, or it could be something as major as a head gasket. So I was afraid it was a head gasket because it was a little rough. So I did a test where a test kit where you test to see how much carbon monoxide is coming into your coolant. And then the tester turns the liquid a different color. I was excited to learn that I do not have a head gasket issue.
That's great.
Yeah, because that's a major deal. But I do have a issue with the motor running rough, and I think I figured that one out. So I'm going to show you how I figured it out.
Okay, let's do it. Okay. All right, David, go for it.
Here we go. Do you hear anything, Tommy?
There's like a little tiny squeak.
A little squeak. It's on the distributor assembly. So I took the distributor cap off, and my whole assembly has a whole lot of play.
Interesting.
So the distributor assembly's wore out, and what's happening is a rotor spinning around inside of the distributor cap, and it's ticking.
So is that looseness in the distributor what's causing that rough running too? Is that related?
I think it is, yeah. So I'm going to replace that, and we'll see if that fixes the issue. Now, have we decided on a name yet, Tommy?
I think Jolly Rancher was the winner.
Jolly Rancher?
I do think it's funny how so many people were upset about that name.
Really?
Because I think it's a great name. I think it's a good name.
Well, I'm a little partial. I like that one,
Okay.
and I know Dan came up with it.
What are you partial to?
I'm partial to Powder Keg.
Well, let's go with it.
Simply because I have a few issues, and I want to tell you about them.
Okay.
Here. I mean, it's nothing to really be super worried about, but I don't think this motor is original. Luckily, I've got two other trucks from the exact same year to compare it to.
Okay.
The first thing that I noticed was that the valve covers were different, and typically the valve cover right here would say 454. Another clue was on the exhaust manifold. It's kind of hard to see, but right above every spark plug, between every port, there's a slit on the exhaust manifold. This is an aftermarket, or at least later model manifold, because it has a slit right over every spark plug to isolate each part of the exhaust manifold from cracking. Right here's a connector going to nothing, and it comes off of an oxygen sensor. Well, the oxygen sensor is on the wrong side, but there's another oxygen sensor on where it's supposed to be, on the passenger side, and it's hooked up. There's one on the exhaust manifold here that's not hooked to anything, and I went and looked at my other trucks, and neither one of them have an oxygen sensor in that location. So either this motor came out of something else, or it was rebuilt and they used a different exhaust manifold.
So is there any way to, for sure, look at like an engine number and match it with the chassis number, or was that at this period not an option?
Yes, I do believe they have stamp numbers. I've never looked one up, so I don't know. We'll have to find that out.
I have to do some more digging. Now, speaking of codes and numbers, you figured out something interesting about the G80 rear locker, which is an option that was still buying in new Silverados. It's basically an auto-locking rear locker. Some people call it a limited slip.
Yep.
Tell me what you discovered about that.
All right, come over here to the glove box. We'll have to look. All right, so this farm truck was so covered in dirt, I couldn't even possibly see the codes on this one to know if it had a G80. But all the codes, the RPO codes, are all on this sticker right here.
Right.
Everybody says my truck has a G80. Well, you know why they say G80?
No, I don't.
That's the RPO code.
Oh, so it'd be in the glove box.
Yeah, so the 3-digit code, like for instance, there'll be a 3-digit code that'll tell you the interior color. This one has heavy-duty front spring. It was a 1-ton to begin with, but it has heavy-duty front springs and heavy-duty rear springs, GVW of 9200. Okay?
Wow, okay.
So all these codes tell you what options were from the factory. I mean, there's a possibility that somebody added one later on, because you can add a limited slip differential. So there is a way to find out. So the way you know if you have an open diff, when you spin the tires, if they spin opposite of each other, you know you have an open diff. So
Okay.
I'm going to spin this one forward like we're rolling forward.
Oh no!
And what's that side doing?
Yeah, the other one's spinning backwards.
Spinning backwards. So we know we have an open diff.
Interesting.
I thought for sure I'd find G80 on here. You know why I thought that?
Why?
Because it went through the snow like nothing,
Right,
you know?
right, yeah.
I mean, you saw it, right?
Yeah, it just ate it up.
But it wasn't because it had a locker. It was because the bumper weighed 500 pounds.
Show me the bumper on it.
So this truck does not have a G80.
So that's for sure. So we know it's got an open
For sure.
rear differential. Now this is the bumper that was on it, and a lot of people like this in the comment section because I don't know if you can see it, Alex, but there's a cubby. So it's turned on its back, but there's a cubby here so you can store things. And you also discovered it's quite heavy.
This baby is super heavy. I mean, I think it weighs about 200 pounds. Lift that end up. But
Wow.
I decided to do a little work on the bumper. Here was the receiver for it, and it was only out of 3/16. They do make a receiver channel or square tubing that doesn't have the rib in it so that you can use it for receivers. It's made for it.
Oh.
And it's quarter wall. So I cut this one off. I'm welding on a new one. Welding on some more bracing so that it only had 2 bolts per side to the frame.
Yeah.
I'm going to have 4 bolts, 2 from this direction, 2 from this direction, so I'll have a total of 8 bolts going into the frame.
Well, now that you know it weighs 8,000 pounds.
Right.
That is unbelievably heavy.
Right. And I cleaned it up, and then I'll put the lid back on it. I'm going to paint it up, make it look nice. So Tommy, if you remember, the door had a huge gap right here because it had been bent backwards.
Yes, it was the 90-degree door, as you
Right.
called it.
Whoops. Well,
And that's something.
there my weather stripping came. I'm surprised it even stayed in there. Yeah, you see the gap right there?
Yeah, I'm sure you
That's
could
where
hear
all the
that
wind
going
noise
down the
was
road,
coming
yeah.
from.
I can see right into the cab of the truck.
Unfortunately, I don't know how long it's been that way. A lot of moisture was coming in here,
Okay.
and it was coming down, and underneath this trim piece was full of dirt. But the water came in here and started rusting a big section right here.
Oh, shoot.
But it hadn't rusted through.
Okay.
So I ground it down to metal, and I've got some video of it.
Nice.
I ground it down to metal and coated it with some rust protector. But that's the only rust I found in the whole truck.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
a huge deal. And I noticed the seats are out of it. Why'd you pull the seats out?
Well, no, I couldn't clean all the crap out of there. I mean, the dirt was thick everywhere. I had to take everything out completely. I took every piece and part out and cleaned underneath it and cleaned the seat up. I'm thinking about getting the seat redone.
Interesting.
I got a price on it. It was $700-800 to have that seat redone. So
Interesting.
I don't know if it's worth it.
But I found a gentleman in Denver who just did both of my front bucket seats
Right.
and my rear bench on my Mini for $1,000
Wow.
in vinyl with black piping and crazy contrasting stitching. So
Right.
it was like a big job. So I'll give him a call and see what it would cost
Okay.
to do a bench
Yeah.
seat. Maybe we can get that a little lower.
And vinyl would be fine too.
Yeah.
Vinyl's more durable than cloth. Yeah.
Now I also noticed too that is the floor new or is it just clean?
No, I just cleaned it. I took some of those little white wizard little blocks
Yeah.
and like a sanding block and went to town on it.
What about the dash? Because the dash looks nice.
Yeah, so the dash was cracked really bad. Multiple cracks. In this version, a company called Dash Skin makes a cover that goes exactly, you can see where it clips in right here and goes all the way over, and you glue it down, silicone it down, and really hides all of the cracks. It's a pretty cool product.
That's really cool. So now for the big job, which was actually replacing the door. So the previous owner had this door in the bed.
Yep.
I noticed here, I won't close it on you, but in the front there it says 1,500. So I assume it's off a half-ton truck. Is it the same door as the HD?
Well, I thought they were all the same, but I learned a little bit different. Notice the indention right here
What's different?
on that truck. That's the only major difference. So what I had to do is see how this kind of goes in a little bit. This part sets in. I had to take my grinder and cut a piece out right here
Because you need that space.
because this came off the black door.
Oh, interesting.
So I assumed when I bought it, I felt the pillars here to see if there was any damage when the door got ripped backwards. I didn't feel any, although now I can find it. But when I put the new door on, I went to close it for the first time, and this point right here was down about this far, an inch and a half. It was nowhere near closing. I got it close, but you're going to help me get it better. All right, so you're going to put a little up pressure on it.
Are you ready?
Yeah. There we go.
That did something.
All right, up.
Ready?
All right. Let's sit it down
Not as
here.
heavy as I thought it would be. I say as I have none of the weight on me.
All right, so what I found out, Tommy, is that this hinge pin right here
Okay.
had been bent inward. So this part right here was actually pushed into the pillar a little bit.
Oh, bummer.
Okay, and now I can feel it. I don't know if you see that crease right there. You can feel it with your hand.
Yeah, you can kind of see it.
Yeah, a little
like
bit of
you
crease.
see that line there?
So I needed to move this point. This needed to stay in the same spot, but basically this needed to do this. Okay, I
Wow.
needed to bend this way.
Okay.
So here's the tools I needed to fix this problem. So I put me a 2x4 in here, and originally I just started just wailing on it like this, trying to move it.
And it wouldn't do it, huh?
and I couldn't get it to move enough. So I put my leg here, and then I take my hammer.
Is there any danger that you bend it too far?
There's a danger, yeah. There's a danger. But I was bending my pins, so
Oh,
I've got
jeez.
some new pins.
Okay.
But it did pull it. It did pull it out.
Okay, look at that.
All right. So it does need new bushings, Tommy.
Okay.
So I ordered new pins and new bushings. So you can see it's got a little bit of play in it.
Oh, up and down, yeah.
Up and down right now. But that's closer.
Look at that. Yeah, it's not as narrow
So-
in the middle there.
I think with the bushing, I can bring my gap's good up here. It's pretty consistent. And even without bushings,
Still closes pretty good.
this is nice.
So what is next on the project truck? What's the next task?
Paint my bumper up.
Okay.
Get it fixed up.
Yep.
Paint it, put it back on, and paint job. Get the seat recovered if I can.
Mirrors.
Mirrors, new mirrors, I got those ordered. What else have I ordered? A headliner. I'm going to put a new headliner in it.
Nice. Okay.
That one's kind of fallen down.
Yep.
And that'll be like a new truck.
What about wheels and tires? So tires, I think I'll start working on. But what about the wheels?
Yeah, so I do have 4 original Chevy wheels out back from this era that I'm gonna wire brush them down. I'm gonna paint them black.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna put a beauty chrome ring on them.
Okay.
And then I bought some new chrome rings, and then I bought some new covers.
Nice.
For them. So
Very cool.
make it original as possible.
Well, be sure to stay tuned for that because hopefully Case and I will be able to come out and help him out with some of the body work and paint. I think it'll be really fun to do on camera again because it's just so visual. And be sure to stay tuned to TFL Classics because a lot more updates coming with this truck soon.
Yeah, it's been
Nice.
fun.